Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It is July 4th and I am heading out into Camden Harbor to catch some fireworks on a fireworks cruise and hopefully get some good photos. So let's go check it out. All right, so we're all checked in, waiting just for the boat to come. Curtis Island is right out here, if you can see that. And that's where we're hoping to go out and hopefully catch the fireworks behind the lighthouse. I've thought about doing this for a couple of years now. I always like to come down to Camden Harbor every 4th of July and try to capture the fireworks somewhere here in the harbor. But this year I thought it would be cool to try to get it behind the lighthouse because it's such an iconic part of this harbor, and I love photographing lighthouses, so I thought this was, definitely something I was going to try to do. I have no idea how it's going to work out because on a moving boat, fireworks usually like to have some sort of a long exposure. It's not going to be possible. So this is really going to be a total experiment. I brought a couple of lenses just to kind of give myself some options because I don't know what focal lengths are going to be best. So I have all the gear I can think that I could possibly bring while still trying to pack light. Since we're on a boat, you don't want to pack too much gear. So this is really going to be an experiment, and I have no idea if it's going to work, but I'm going to have a lot of fun trying, and hopefully you guys are going to have some fun checking it out and seeing what exactly I'm going to see, and hopefully we are going to get a pretty cool image or two out of this. If not, it's just going to be a fun experience, but I'm excited. So we're just waiting for the boat to come in, and it should be any minute now, and then we'll get off. And I don't think we're going to see any sunset, but you never know. There's clouds around, and the sunset will be like maybe 10-15 minutes after we leave the dock. So if we get that, it's a bonus. But if not, as long as we get fireworks, I'll be happy. So now we just wait, and then off we'll go. It wasn't long before Camden Harbor Cruises' vessel Periwinkle arrived at the dock. After a few minutes of preparing the boat for everyone, Captain Dominic and First Mate Rich called everyone down for boarding. There was some beautiful light as we pulled out of the harbor, with golden edges on the clouds overhead, and even a brief appearance from the setting sun. We had some time before the fireworks were to begin, so we headed down to Goose Rock to see if there were any seals. Though we didn't see any wildlife, we did get to see some small fireworks being set off at Altamere Farm, and the patterns along the water were also pretty cool too. We made our way back towards Camden, passing by a number of sailing vessels that were also waiting to view the fireworks. With the fireworks set to start soon, we got ourselves into position near the lighthouse and just had to wait for a few more minutes. It was absolutely stunning watching the fireworks explode over the harbor from this vantage point. There were many challenges photographically, which I'll touch on in a bit, but I was so excited to have the opportunity to photograph this scene. The reflections of the fireworks in the water were of particular interest, and I devoted a fair bit of time attempting to capture it. You can see me holding my camera over the side of the boat here, trying to get as close to the water as possible without giving it a saltwater bath. The minutes flew by, and soon the show was over. It was now nearly completely dark as we motored our way back into the harbor, though the moon was helping to illuminate the landscape. As we pulled up to the dock, I was very excited to get home and see what I had captured. Well, good morning, everybody. It has been a couple of days since the cruise, and I've gone through all the images that I took during the whole evening, and I thought we'd sit down here and just discuss some of them, discuss some of the challenges that I went through with capturing them, with the light and the other factors like the moving boat, and also talk about some of the gear that I brought, why I brought it, and what I did and didn't need. And so yeah, let's get started. First off, I'm going to start with the camera and the lens. I used my Nikon Z7, and I brought a couple lenses. I brought what I normally use is my 24 to 120 on stuff like this. It gives me a little bit of versatility, and it's got a constant f4 aperture, which is good so that you don't have to change the exposures as the lens zooms. Some of the variable aperture lenses, you have to adjust exposure as the aperture changes through the zoom range. So I brought that. That was what I was hoping to use, and it is indeed what I used for pretty much the whole cruise. I also brought, because I didn't ever do anything like this before, I didn't know what I would need. I also brought a 28 to 300 lens just to give me a little bit more versatility. I didn't know if I want anything beyond 120 millimeters, but I didn't really end up using this. So pretty much was just the one lens show. So yeah, that's what I went with my gear, and that worked pretty well. I didn't have any problems. I had to use about a ISO speed of anywhere between 1,000 and 6,400, I think was the top I used. Kept it around f4 the whole time. I think I might have gone to f5.6 once or twice, but it was pretty much f4. And that gave me about shutter speeds of generally like 1/30th of a second to as much as 1/5 of a second. But I tried to stay in the 1/15th to 1/30th of a second range because I could generally get sharp exposures at that shutter speed. And I mainly chose to do that because on the boat, you're constantly, it's ever so slightly, but you're moving side to side, and anything above anything above 1/15th of a second shutter speed range, and was really susceptible to motion blur. So the unfortunate part with fireworks is that you generally want somewhat of a longer exposure, maybe 1 to 5 seconds, maybe even 8 seconds, depending on the look you're going for. No possible way to do that on a cruise like this when you're on a boat. So we had to work with that shutter speed range of 1/30th to 1/5 at most. But actually, I think it worked out pretty well, all things considered. It was as well as I was going to hope for. So with that, I think we should probably go through the images, and I can show you exactly what I'm talking about in terms of how it worked with the somewhat faster shutter speeds. So let's do that. Move this aside, and let's look at some of the images. So this is not one of the images that actually I'm happy with. I'm gonna show you this one only because when we started the cruise, we started kind of on the southern side of Curtis Island, where you kind of get a full view of the light station with the mountains behind it, which is pretty cool. But from where the fireworks are being set off, as you can see here in this image, it's kind of unbalanced. Your attention is very much drawn to the fireworks on the left side of the frame, which kind of, the lighthouse on the right-hand side doesn't really grab anything. So we didn't like that, so we moved the boat to the east to where we could get more in front of the lighthouse, and that worked really well. So as we moved to the eastern side, we moved to this angle, and this was really cool. I put my camera as low to the water as I could to get the reflection of the fireworks like this, and I really love the look of this whole scene. Depending on the fireworks, sometimes the lighthouse was sort of illuminated by the light in the air. So on one like this worked decently because there was that extra bit of light. Now, this looks pretty good. Now, the exposure on here and from all these images here forward was really, really tough because we're looking like at about, at least 40 minutes after sunset here. So this is all very, very dark. And in fact, I'm going to show you the raw image just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So here's the raw image, and you can see how dark this is. Thankfully, on cameras like this today, you can shoot at a high ISO and still have a pretty decent amount of dynamic range that you can bring all this back and you can get this. And I'm pretty happy with this. It's not one of my favorite images. What I don't love about it is that this angle of the lighthouse it's a little too far out front in my opinion. And also, though I love the reflection here, the lighthouse is just a little bit too insignificant in the frame. So I like this one, but it's not, we're gonna move on and we're gonna find a better one. So then I decided to try this composition. And I really like it from the fact of the lighthouse is very pronounced and very front and center. Definitely your eye is going to find it in this image. However, the fireworks, these were the low ones, and the low ones just never really they never really had a good look to them in terms of the images. A longer exposure might have been able to create a more pleasing firework for this scene, but for what we were working with here, this just wasn't going to work. And as the bigger fireworks, which I'll show you in a second, did actually look pretty good, they were too high for this scene. So unfortunately, though, I really do like this scene. I like the lighthouse better, a little bit more to the south, but from this angle, it still was decent, and with it this close in the frame, I would have been happy with this, but unfortunately, that wasn't going to work either. So I went back to this reflection scene, and this one I like better than the other one only because the fireworks are actually a little bit bigger and more impressive looking. So though the lighthouse is a little smaller, it is actually a little darker because by this point it's been another 5 minutes or so. That light in the lighthouse is at least taking over a little bit more, so it's a bit more pronounced. Still not perfect, but a bit more. Again, here's the raw image, and you can see how dark that really was. And yeah, thankfully I was able to bring that lighthouse back without too much of an issue. There's a little bit of noise, but noise reduction did pretty good in making this a relatively clean image. So yeah, happy with that one. And next is this one. This one I'm happy with. I really, really love this. The patterns in the water here and the light playing off it is just fabulous. And that was one of the cooler fireworks that worked on a slower shutter speed like this. Had some really nice tails coming off the lights as they went flying towards the ground. So that was pretty. I love this shot. This is pretty cool. And here's the raw file. This one actually, I don't know what I shot this one at. This is 1/5 of a second, so that is as high as I went with the shutter speed, and that's why this one is actually a little bit brighter than the others. Which this was not only was I struggling with the fact that any longer of a shutter speed and stuff was going to be motion blurred. This one, thankfully, is not. Any more of an exposure, and the fireworks are actually going to start blowing out the highlights. Detail was going to be lost. And this one is actually kind of like right at the border of just maybe losing a little bit of detail, but I was able to bring enough of it back in post-processing that it still looks pretty good. I'm happy with this image, and yeah, I just really, really love that foreground and all the ripples in the water. So that is definitely one of the best ones of the night. Really love that one. And then we got to the grand finale, and that was very, very frantic. The whole event was frantic, frankly. It only lasts about 15 minutes, and the boat's moving. You're constantly trying to decide what composition is the best on the fly, and choosing shutter speeds, changing them, is trying to get different artistic effects with the trails of the lights and all that. So very, very, very frantic. But yeah, the grand finale was even more frantic. But I really, really, really love this image. This is just, you can see all of the fireworks going off at the same time here. And the smoke from all of these things was actually providing more light on the island. As the smoke would drift across the island, it was actually getting illuminated, and really helped with the exposure, because otherwise at this point we're now looking at probably about 45 minutes after sunset, and it's getting pretty dark. So here's the raw file. You can see how dark it is. That would have been even darker without the smoke through the trees in the island actually providing a little bit of light. So, but yeah, I mean, this image, the next one is probably my favorite, but this is really, really close. These last three images are, I really love how these turned out. And even a cool little detail here is this little boat, which is kind of insignificant. It's just a little pleasure boat, but I think it adds a cool little touch there, silhouetted beneath those fireworks. So yeah, and the skies here, we had clouds and blowing in and out. Right where the fireworks were, we had clouds most of the time, which is a really nice contrast between the bright lights of the fireworks and those dark clouds. So that was really, really nice too. And so finally, we're gonna get to the last image here. And this, again, might be my favorite. This was the last firework that they set off, or set of fireworks that they set off during the grand finale. And I cropped this to a square because I felt it really made everything compact in the frame without making your eye go to all sorts of different places. But we've got that reflection in the water. We've got these beautiful trails on the fireworks, and we got some great light on the lighthouse there. And I actually even enjoyed the blue sky up above, the deep blue sunset sky above those clouds. All in all, I really, really, really love this picture. And this image is, I think, my favorite from the night. I'm gonna have a hard time deciding for sure. Might even go back and forth a few times, but right now this is my favorite for the whole evening. So really, really, really happy with what I got out of this. So yeah, that was a fabulous adventure. I am super glad that I did it. Like I said earlier in the video, I've wanted to do this for a few years now. So to actually get the chance to do it and to have it turn out exactly like I hoped it would is really, really awesome. And I'm so excited to have caught these images. And now we're gonna have to start planning the next adventure. I've got a few things coming up. Got a few more boat cruises that are gonna take me to some lighthouses. I have, last year I did a video going out to a bunch of different seabird islands, like Machias Seal, Petite Manane, Mount Desert Rock, Great Duck, and I'm gonna be doing that cruise again here in a couple weeks. So hopefully we're gonna have some content from that, and hopefully some really cool puffin images. And if we do really well, maybe we can get some flying with fish in their mouth, taking it back to the nests. It's that time of year for the puffins. They're feeding the young. So I don't know if that's gonna come out next or if I will have another video in between that. So stay tuned for that. And if you wanna see that and more, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like. It really helps the channel grow. So yeah, anyway, really happy to have done this and looking forward to the next one. So thanks for tuning in, guys. If you'd like to see more of my work, you can go to the link in the description below. I've got my website and also my Substack, where I do writing about my photography, whether it's talking about my camera gear, the lenses and cameras that I use. Just talking about photo adventures like these. I do lots of them, and I don't do videos for everything. So definitely check that out. Also, I do a little bit of poetry. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks.